Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Morty and Glory video. In today's video we shall be taking a look at the good, the bad and the ugly of Tank Company Guard. If you're a treadhead who is struggling to wield the hammer of the Emperor, then this is the video for you. And if you're not a guard player, but someone who regularly plays against someone who does bring a lot of tanks, then this might just give you the edge that you need to defeat them. And so, without further ado, let's not mess around anymore. Let's mount up, roll out, and drive right into today's episode. Let's begin with a brief overview of what the hell Armored Guard even is. At its core, it's a simple playstyle. A brutally simple playstyle. You take a bunch of guard tanks and you just smash them into your opponent's list. You leverage the incredible firepower that a lot of the vehicles in the motor pool have, and you just hammer your opponent into submission. There's nothing particularly fancy about it. You're just bringing overwhelming force to bludgeon your way to victory. Well, at least that's the theory anyway. But how does that translate onto the tabletop? How effective is this? Well, let's start off by looking at the good bits about taking a guard tank company. First and foremost, your greatest advantage is your firepower. Tank Company Guard is all about doing damage, just hammering your foe into submission. And it's very easy for guard players to draw upon a large resource and a wide variety of armored vehicles that bring a ton of DACA at a very reasonable price point. If you look at the Leman Russ as an example, you can get a Leman Russ variant for as little as 155 points. Even the more expensive ones, like the Demolisher, only cost 200 points. And it comes with a weapon that is called the Demolisher Cannon. And it lives up to that name. D6 plus 3 shots. Strength 14. It will wound pretty much anything in the game on 3s at worst. And it's AP -3 and it's damage D6. So it just brings the pain. You've also got new kids on the block, like the Rogel Dawn, with the appropriately named Oppressor Cannon. Because frankly, it is oppressive. D6 plus 3 shots at strength 12, AP -2, flat 3 damage. And it is by far not the only flat damage 3 weapon in the guard motor pool. Battle cannons, exterminator auto cannons, pulverizer cannons. There's pretty much a damage 3 weapon available to every vehicle in your army if you want to go down that route. But specifically in 10th edition, your firepower has really benefited from all of the free upgrades you can now take. Every vehicle has a free heavy stubber. Every vehicle has a free hunter killer missile. Every Leman Russ, Rogel Dawn, whatever tank it might be, can get free sponsons. You can take the best sponson all the time and it's baked into your unit's cost. So every vehicle can rock around with what previously would have been an extra 40 points for those multi-melters. Now they're just free. They're just there. You just get them. So your firepower is now supplemented by a lot of extra goodies with the sponsons and the other accoutrements. But your opponent can't just tag your vehicles in combat anymore. One of the ways that Armored Guards used to suffer so terribly in 8th and 9th was that just a few infantry could charge into a tank and just tie it up in combat. And the tank couldn't really do anything about it. There were some changes made in 9th where it was a bit harder, but still, by and large, one of the most reliable ways of taking a tank out of the fight wasn't to kill it. It was just to wrap it up. But that's not a thing in 10th edition. Big guns never tire allow a lot of vehicles to just fire into combat with no worries. They can even fire their blast weapons out of combat at separate targets. You've got variants of the Leman Russ like the Demolisher and the Eradicator. I always want to call it the Executioner, but it's the Eradicator with the Nova Cannon. that have abilities that specifically let them shoot everything into combat, including their blast weapons, and they suffer no penalty for doing so. They're fantastic wall bruiser tanks that can just get into the fight and actually actively get into combat, can mess your opponent. You can tag your opponent's infantry with your tanks now. Even if one of your tanks that isn't good at shooting into combat gets wrapped up, completely surrounded, you can just desperate escape now. Sure, on a 1 or a 2, the vehicle is going to go bye-bye, but that is a 66% chance of just falling back over enemy units without really any repercussions. Again, it's much harder in 10th edition to wrap tanks up. You have to actually kill them to stop them from hurting you. And this is much easier said than done, because 10th edition is the edition of tanks and monsters. Some of the biggest glow-ups, some of the biggest boosts in durability have gone to vehicles, and Guard is no exception to this. The Russ, the bread and butter of any good Guard tank company, is now toughness 11. Only a few months ago, it was T8 in 9th edition, and in 8th edition, now it's toughness 11. It's got a 2+ save base. It does benefit from cover. So if someone hits you with an AP -1 weapon, you're still on a 2+ save. Someone hits you with an AP -2 weapon, you're still on a 3+ save. Someone has to hit you with an AP -3 weapon to put you on a 4-up. That was like the best case scenario in old editions. Now it's just the norm. And on top of that, you've got more wounds than ever before with 13 of the beautiful babies. 13 wounds is so tasty because it makes you just a little bit more annoying to deal with. Someone hits you with a damage 3 weapon. Oh, they've got to get 5 shots through instead of 4. Someone hits you with a damage 2 weapon. Oh, they've got to get 7 wounds through instead of 6. Just makes you that little bit more durable. Combine this natural toughness on the datasheet with things like the aforementioned cover and stratagems, such as being able to pop smoke, and the Guard-specific one, Armored Might, and overall, Guard vehicles have never been more durable. Attention Guardsmen, this is an announcement by the Departamento Militarum. Element Games is an official sponsor of the mordianglorytv channel. They offer up to 20% off Warhammer 40k and 10% off bolt action and other game systems. Use the link down in the description to save money and support the channel. Anyone not using the link will be referred to the local commissariat. Also, don't forget that if you use referral code TIM3921, then you will receive double store credit, saving even more money on your future purchases. That's all for now. Fallout! There are also a number of real-world logistical benefits to going down the Armored Guard route. Firstly, you don't need as many models. At most, you're going to need like a dozen. Now, that's not little, that's still quite a lot, but relatively speaking, when you compare it to other playstyles like Pure Infantry Guard, where in that video we said you need a minimum of 300 infantry, realistically you're looking at 350, 400 if you're going to commit to the Pure Infantry Guard lifestyle, suddenly a dozen tanks is a lot more reasonable. And the second-hand model market and the 3D print market for Guard vehicles is very extensive. Guard players love their tanks, so there's always someone selling a Russ on eBay for 15, 20 quid. There's always someone who can sell you a 3D printed Leman Russ for, well, a similar price. It's not cheap. Warhammer isn't a cheap hobby, but it's not the thousands of pounds that it might cost you to go pure infantry. It's, in comparison, less. Fewer models is not only a bit easier on the wallet, and I keep stressing this point because again it's still Warhammer, right? But it's also a bit easier to pilot. A dozen models moving around the field of battle, that's not so hard to do. Managing 200 plus again in comparison to infantry, even managing just like 100 infantry in a hybrid Guard army, yeah, that's a lot more moving parts, so it can be easier on the brain. Unfortunately, Armored Guard is not infallible, despite what the Commissar might say. It has a flaw, and it is a massive one. This is the bad and the ugly part of the video wrapped up into one, because it is such an Achilles heel that it makes the faction at best semi-competitive. whilst you might have great firepower and great durability, your capability to score victory points is very low. At best, you'll have like an objective control 5 tank. Most of them are going to be 2 and 3. That means even cursory units of battle line infantry, even scraplets like 2 or 3 marines hanging around, a handful of termagants are going to push you off objectives, no problem. It also is a problem when it comes to scoring secondaries, when you need to do things like actions. Like, it's not so bad having a 60-point unit of infantry cleanse an objective or investigate a signal, but having a 180 to 200 point, if not more, battle tank do the same thing, well, that's not overly efficient. Basically, you have to smash your opponent. You have to blow them off the table quickly. And if you do, you'll probably win. But if you don't, you'll probably lose. I took Armored Guard to a tournament recently, and my first 2 games, I won in turn 1. I just deleted half my opponent's army in 1 turn. My last game, I got absolutely smashed because my opponent played it very cagey, perfectly movement blocked me, and just lost 95% of his army, but took it to 5 turns. And over those 5 turns, he scored way more points than I did. And he ended up massively outscoring me. It was like 40-ish points to me, 80-something to him. And even though I still had the majority of my list left over, he was a clever opponent. He played it well. He absolutely beat me on points. Long story short, Armored Guard is a one-trick pony. And against some opponents, that trick will work. But against many others, it won't. Pure firepower, and I've said this before on many videos and on many of my streams, but pure firepower will win you about half of your games. If you're ever struggling with the win rate, just going down pure firepower, no matter what faction it is, pure DACA will get you about 50% of your games in the bag. But that's the thing. 50% of the time, it works every time. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you a treadhead? And if so, how have you been building your armored companies? And what is your favorite tank in the guard right now? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button. It helps with the all-knowing and yet mysterious machine spirit known as the YouTube algorithm. And also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, and they have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a big shout out to Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Thank you guys so much. Your incredible generosity is a massive part of how I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time, and it is a big driving force behind the channel. But I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.